Hey there. Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you were there, or maybe struggled to find a word that's right on the tip of your tongue? It's happened to most of us at some point, and if you're over 60 like me, you might have wondered if it's just a normal part of getting older, or something more. I know that can feel a little unsettling, especially when you hear words like Alzheimer's floating around. It's one of those things we don't always like to talk about, but understanding it, and what we can do about it, can take away some of that worry and give us a bit of control. That's why I'm so glad you're here with me today, because we're going to unpack this together in a way that's simple, hopeful, and practical. Alzheimer's isn't something to brush off, but it's also not something we need to fear without knowing the facts. It's a condition that affects memory and thinking, and while it's more common as we age, it's not a guaranteed part of growing older. For a lot of us, those little memory slips are just that, slips, not signs of something bigger. But since it's on so many of our minds, it's worth getting a handle on what it really is and how we can look after ourselves to keep our brains as sharp as possible. In this video, we'll walk through what Alzheimer's looks like, why it matters to us, and some easy, everyday steps we can take to lower our chances of facing it. So, grab a comfy seat, and let's dive in with a clear head and a warm heart. First, let's get a picture of what Alzheimer's actually is, because knowing what we're dealing with makes it a lot less scary. It's a type of dementia, a word that just means a decline in memory and thinking skills that gets in the way of daily life. With Alzheimer's, it starts slow, maybe with forgetting names or where you parked the car, and over time, it can make things like planning a meal or recognizing loved ones really tough. It's caused by changes in the brain. Proteins build up and mess with how our brain cells talk to each other. Now, that might sound heavy, but here's the good news: not every forgotten key or missed appointment means Alzheimer's. Normal aging can make our brains a bit slower too, and that's okay. The difference is when those slip-ups start piling up and sticking around, and even then, there's so much we can do to keep our minds in good shape. My Aunt Helen gave me a real-life look at this a few years back. She's 74 now, and she started noticing she'd forget little things, like what she needed at the store, even with a list. At first, she laughed it off, saying, "Oh, I've just got too much on my mind." But when it kept happening, she talked to her doctor, and it turned out to be early Alzheimer's. She's still herself, still cracking jokes, but she's had to adjust. Her kids help with the shopping now, and she's got a routine that keeps her steady. Seeing her go through it taught me how important it is to pay attention, not out of fear, but so we can catch things early if we need to. Doctors can spot signs with tests, and while there's no cure yet, catching it sooner means more time to plan and live well. That's why understanding this matters. It's not about dwelling on the what-ifs, but about staying in the driver's seat of our own lives. And here's where it gets hopeful: there are things we can do right now to help our brain stay strong and maybe even lower our risk. One of the simplest is keeping our bodies moving. I know, exercise might not sound like a blast if your knees creak like mine do, but it doesn't have to be a big deal. Just walking around the block or swaying to some music in the kitchen can get your blood flowing, and that's like a love letter to your brain. Studies show that folks who stay active, nothing crazy, just regular movement, have a better shot at keeping their memory sharp. It's not about running a race, it's about giving your brain the oxygen and energy it loves. My neighbor Bob, he's 69, and he started walking his dog a little farther every day. He swears he's not just sleeping better, he's remembering where he put his glasses without hunting for an hour. Another easy step is feeding ourselves the good stuff, not just for our taste buds, but for our heads. Eating more fruits, veggies, and things like fish or nuts can make a difference. They're packed with nutrients that help our brain cells stay healthy and fight off some of that wear and tear. I started tossing a handful of blueberries into my oatmeal a while back, not because I'm fancy, but because I read they're little brain boosters. I can't say I feel like a genius yet, but it's nice knowing I'm doing something kind for myself. It's not about a big diet overhaul, just swapping in a few things here and there that your brain will thank you for. So, we've got a handle on what Alzheimer's is and how moving and eating well can help us push back against it. But there's more we can do to keep our minds buzzing, and it's stuff that's actually fun, things that make you smile while they're working their magic. Let's explore that next, because who says taking care of ourselves can't feel good too? You know, it's really empowering to get a grip on what Alzheimer's is and see how simple things like a walk or a handful of blueberries can give our brains a boost. It's like we're building a little toolkit for ourselves, piece by piece, without making it feel like a chore. And that's where the fun part comes in, because some of the best ways to keep our minds sharp are things we can actually enjoy, things that light us up while they're doing their good work. It's not just about dodging trouble, it's about adding a bit of spark to our days, and I love that we can do both at the same time. One of the easiest and most enjoyable ways to keep your brain humming is to stay curious, keep it busy with something new or interesting. Think about picking up a puzzle, whether it's a jigsaw on the kitchen table or a crossword in the morning paper. It's like a workout for your mind, but instead of lifting weights, you're piecing together a picture or chasing down a tricky word. My friend Linda, she's 71, and she got hooked on Sudoku a couple of years ago. She started with the easy ones, and now she's tackling the tough grids like a champ. She told me, it's not just about the numbers, it's that little, aha moment when it clicks. I feel like my brain's stretching in a good way. That's the trick, it's fun, it's low pressure, and it keeps those mental gears turning. And it doesn't have to be puzzles, anything that gets you thinking works wonders. Maybe you've always wanted to learn a few chords on a guitar, or you could try your hand at painting, even if it's just doodling with watercolors. It's not about being good at it, it's about giving your brain something fresh to chew on. I gave knitting a shot last winter, not because I'm crafty, but because I wanted to see if I could figure it out. My first scarf was a lumpy mess, but I laughed my way through it, and I swear I felt sharper just for trying. The point is, when you challenge your mind a little, it's like you're reminding it to stay awake and ready for whatever's next. Plus, you might end up with a funny story or a scarf, lumpy or not, to show for it. Now, let's talk about something we all need, connection. Staying social is one of the biggest gifts we can give our brains, and it's also one of the sweetest parts of life. Chatting with friends, calling family, or even joining a group like a book club or a card game can do more than lift your spirits, it can help keep Alzheimer's at bay. When you're talking and laughing with people, your brain's working to keep up, to remember names or follow a story, and that's like a natural tune-up. I've got a buddy, Sam, who's 68, and he started going to a weekly coffee meetup at the community center. He says it's not just the coffee that keeps him coming back, it's the banter, the way they tease each other about who's got the best gossip. He swears he's sharper on those days, and the science backs him up, staying connected keeps our minds strong. You don't need a big social calendar either, just small moments count. Maybe it's a phone call to an old friend to swap memories, or sitting on the porch with a neighbor swapping tales about the grandkids. My cousin Grace, she's 73, and she started hosting a little tea time with a few ladies from her church. It's nothing fancy, just tea, some cookies, and a lot of chatter. She told me, I didn't realize how much I missed it until we started. I feel more awake, like my head's clearer. That's what happens, those conversations, those laughs, they're like fuel for your brain, keeping it engaged and happy. And who doesn't love a good excuse to catch up over a cup of tea? So, we've got these great, fun ways to keep our minds buzzing, puzzles, new hobbies, and good company. But there's another piece to this that ties it all together, how we manage the everyday stuff like sleep and stress, because those play a bigger role than you might think. Let's dive into that next, because it's all about setting ourselves up to feel our best, day in and day out. You know, it's pretty amazing how much fun we can have keeping our brains in tip-top shape, picking up a puzzle, chatting with friends, or even fumbling through a new hobby like my lumpy knitting project. It's all about keeping that spark alive, and it feels good to know we're doing something for ourselves that's enjoyable too. But there's another layer to this that's just as important, and it's all about how we handle the everyday stuff, like how we sleep and how we deal with life's little stresses. These might not sound as exciting as a good laugh with pals, but they're like the quiet helpers that keep everything else running smoothly, giving our brains the best shot at staying strong. Let's start with sleep, because I'll bet you've had a night or two where you didn't get enough and felt it the next day. When we're over 60, sleep can get a bit trickier. Maybe you're waking up more, or it takes longer to drift off. But here's why it matters. When we sleep, our brains do some serious housekeeping. They clear out the junk that builds up during the day, stuff that, over time, could make things like Alzheimer's more likely. Getting a solid night's rest isn't just about feeling refreshed, it's like giving your brain a reset button. I started turning off the TV an hour before bed and sipping some chamomile tea instead. Nothing fancy, just a little wind-down trick. It's not perfect every night, but I've noticed I'm sharper when I stick to it, and that feels like a win. You don't have to overhaul your whole routine, just small tweaks can help. Maybe keep the bedroom cool and dark, or try a quick stretch if you're restless. My friend Paul, he's 70, and he swears by a little trick he picked up, listening to soft music until he nods off. He told me, I used to toss and turn, but now I'm out like a light, and I don't lose my keys as much. It's funny how something as simple as a good snooze can make a difference, but it does. Aim for those 7 or 8 hours if you can, and your brain will thank you by staying a little quicker on its feet. And then there's stress. Oh boy, that's a sneaky one, isn't it? Life doesn't stop throwing curveballs just because we're older, whether it's worrying about the kids, the bills, or what the doctor said last week. But here's the thing, when stress piles up, it's like static in your brain. It makes it harder to think straight and can even wear down those defenses against Alzheimer's over time. Finding ways to ease it isn't about pretending everything's perfect, it's about giving yourself a breather so your mind can settle. I started taking 5 minutes a day to just sit and breathe, nothing deep or complicated, just closing my eyes and letting the world wait. It's not magic, but it helps me feel less frazzled, and that's a start. There's no one-size-fits-all here. Maybe for you, it's a quiet walk, a chat with a friend, or even petting the dog for a bit. My neighbor Sue, she's 66, and she took up gardening to unwind. She says digging in the dirt and watching her flowers grow takes her mind off things. She even jokes that her tomatoes listen better than her husband. It doesn't have to be big, it's just about finding what calms you down. Less stress means your brain's not fighting an uphill battle, and that's a huge piece of keeping it healthy for the long haul. So, we've walked through what Alzheimer's is, how moving, eating well, staying curious, and connecting with folks can help, and now how sleep and stress fit into the picture. It's like we've built this cozy little plan, nothing overwhelming, just practical steps we can weave into our days. You might not stop Alzheimer's cold, but you're giving yourself a fighting chance, and that's worth celebrating. Whether it's a walk, a puzzle, or a better night's sleep, every bit counts. I'd love to hear what you think. Do you have a favorite trick for keeping your mind sharp? Drop it in the comments, I'm all ears. If this chat's been helpful, give the video a thumbs up and hit subscribe so we can keep figuring this out together. Here's to taking care of ourselves, one small, hopeful step at a time. Cheers to that.